Last devlog, we created a monster for my first ever game, going over the different processes like art, modeling, sculpting, retopology, painting, the problems and issues we ran into, of course, and more. That devlog was very unhinged and unprofessional. Yeah, you like that?
And today we're gonna be starting with the deep throat segment. We're bonding. You wanna have sex with me?
This guy looks like a piece of fucked up chicken.
You didn't have to become a baker, I lied. Because there's no cookies. That's the only thing I can fucking draw is a fucking anime character, bro.
But don't worry, this devlog will be professional this time. And yes, I'm still not wearing pants, okay? Because none of my pants fit me. Look, I'm gonna give you guys an example right now. I'm kind of thick. This is squeezing the hell out of my legs. And let me take these back off. Let me take these back off. None of my pants fit me because I gained 27 pounds over the summer. Because I've been eating hella calories, 4,000 to 5,000 calories. I've been hitting the gym, getting nice and strong. Let me flex for you. You see it? You see these gains? You seeing it? I've been in the gym to maintain the title of the sexiest game dev. My title! Okay? Back in May, I weighed 155 pounds. Currently, right now, I am 182 pounds. And my goal is to reach 200 pounds. Give it up for the most sexiest game dev. Thank you, everybody. All right. Now, why am I sharing this? It's because most of my attention went to my diet and went to hitting the gym, which means game dev got neglected over the summer. I'm so sorry. So that's one reason why you guys haven't seen me since June. The second reason is doing the game dev and the gym and the diet. I got burnt out, I'm not gonna lie. I also felt like I didn't progress enough to make a devlog, so that's another, okay, fine. It's because I started no-lifing RLCraft. Yeah, for the whole month of July, I was pretty much in the world of Minecraft's mod pack called RLCraft, and I no-lifed it. After not playing any video games for months. I didn't play any video games for 3 months, so I needed a break. And that break was the hell that the sanity that it was RLCraft. I hate you, but I'm here now. Let's go over what I did in the summer, excluding the month of July, since I was just playing RLCraft. And also, make sure you guys wishlist my game on Steam. If you don't wishlist my game on Steam, I will start an OnlyFans. Matter of fact, I'm gonna start one right now. But yeah, make sure you wishlist Night Shift at the Cement Plant on Steam. It's a game that's based on my real life job that I work at. I work the graveyard shift. You get to do what I do for work, but in the game. And watch out for the SkinWalkers that hunt you. Continuing from where we left off, we had finished our model and painting it and all that stuff like that, but I wasn't satisfied, so in Adobe Substance Painter, I changed up some of the details on my monster, making the gum shape more differently and more realistic, I guess you could say, and I made some changes to the color as well. Then I put my monster in the game, finally, and I added the textures that I painted in Adobe Substance Painter. I added those textures to the monster. So now we have our first monster in our first game with the correct textures. And now our monster needed to be animated. But before we could do that, we have to go back into Blender and prepare our monster for animation. To do this, we have to do something called rigging. Rigging is basically a process where you add bones to your character's mesh. So that's what I did. I put the bones inside his body, named them properly, left bones on left side, right bones on right side. Then I had to apply the eyes and teeth to the face bones and spine bones to make sure they moved with the monster, since the eyes and teeth are separate meshes. Then, to get the bones to move the monster's skin, aka the mesh, I had to weight paint the mesh to the bones. Overall, this didn't cause me any trouble. It was a very interesting process to learn. Now it's ready for animation. So I animated a simple idle animation and I animated a walking animation. I ended up making a YouTube short of the walking animation, and you guys gave me some great constructive criticism in the comments to make my walking animation scarier. Except this guy. Look at this comment. Look, there's a way to give constructive criticism without being mean. If your little brother and you are so great at animating, why don't you come do it for me then, huh? Nah, I'm playing. Overall, I appreciate the tip. I appreciate the feedback. I appreciate the comments. So thank you. And the guy was not wrong. Though it was kind of mean and he could have left the other stuff out, he wasn't wrong. The walking animation, kind of butt. And all you guys' other comments that you guys left, thank you for your feedback. I took that into mind and I will be updating this and you will see it in this video today. I will say though, I do feel very limited on what I can do with the monster as far as animation goes because the rig of my monster isn't the greatest. As you can see, there's no controls or anything, it's just bones. I also think I'm very limited too because my retopology that I did, it's not the best. At the end of the day, it's my first ever character model and my first time rigging as well. And I'm not gonna lie to you, the whole controllers and the KC and DC and QQ, whatever, that concept to add the controllers was very confusing to me. And since I didn't need it, I didn't do it. Also, I don't understand why I chose for my first ever animation and character to be a 4-legged creature. Beats me. Should have did somebody with 2 legs. At least I didn't jump into an 8-legged spider. So when we get to updating the animation, I will do my best. But for now, I'll be taking a break from the animation before using the advice that you guys gave me and updating it. Instead, I decided to plug the animation I did into my game. So I opened up Unreal and started plugging everything into the anim graph. First, I added an output pose. Then in the local motion state machine, I added 2 entries that link together, idle and walking. Then inside those, I added my idle animation to my output pose animation. And the same goes for my walking animations. Inside is the walking. Then I created a couple of C++ classes. First, for the SkinWalker, I made a U property float for the walk speed. Then I set the walk speed to 0 and a line for getting the character's movement. I then added a reference to my AI controller class, which is the second C++ class that I created. So now the two connect. In that class, we added U properties for AI range settings, a reference for the player so the monster knows who to eat, the patrol settings so the monster knows the territory that it's supposed to protect. I added timer settings for checking the distance of the player, more patrol settings like variables and functions, and smooth rotation to the monster to prevent the monster from snapping in my direction. So now when it looks at me, it's smooth. The only problems I ran into during this process was 1, importing my animation from Blender to Unreal, because my monster was super tiny. But the fix for that was setting my scale to 100 in the animation settings. Apparently, according to Google, that's just the rule of thumb step to do when you're working with Blender and Unreal together, because my Blender settings, they were correct. But anyways, my second issue was when my monster would walk or move, it'd leave behind a weird black shadow. The fix for that was pretty simple though. All I had to do was turn off the monster's dynamic shadow casting in the blueprint. Also, I'd like to show you guys my coding process real quick. As you can see, I have C++ open, as well as an AI tool called Perplexity. I don't have a degree or any special schooling. I took C++ online courses through the University of Colorado, and I took Python through the University of Purdue in Indiana. It was just an online course, didn't come with certificates or degrees or anything fancy. And then I also took a course through GameDev.tv, which does come with the certificate, but they never gave me my certificate. My first language was C++, and then I did the class of Python just to, strengthen my foundation of understanding the basics of coding. Python is usually everyone's first language. They don't recommend C++ being your first language, just like they don't recommend your first animation has 4 legs. Now I know to some programmers, this way of doing things is looked down upon. And I used to care to the point I had imposter syndrome almost. But then I realized that I'm not a programmer, nor do I care to be. I'm just an indie video game designer without a degree. Bars? And I'm doing what I can with the resources that are available in this day and age. And I admit, without this AI tool, I probably wouldn't be here in front of you making video games, because I just don't see this being possible without schooling. I mean, sure, there's YouTube and Blueprint, that's one way to go, but I feel like you're limited with Blueprint, and some might disagree with that, but that's just my uneducated opinion. It is what it is. But something I will say to take from this is, if you want to start doing something but lack something like the schooling, the equipment, no fancy camera, no fancy desk, no fancy setup, just do what you can. Ignore all the outside noise, ignore all the hate that comes with how you do it or the criticisms or whatever. At least you're doing it. At least you're doing it. At least you're chasing something. So now that the code is done, let's go into our game and look at what's happening.
This green area, which is called the nav mesh, this is the area where the monster could navigate around. The monster will not be able to step out of this area for testing purposes. Soon the whole map, the monster will be able to walk anywhere. Okay, so right now the monster is patrolling. It's walking around to that blue orb. It waits a minute, and then another blue orb will appear. It appeared, and now the monster's walking towards that blue orb as well. And in the bottom left of the screen, you can see an output log. And the output log, it's saying that it's moving to a patrol point. It's staying the distance. It starts the rotation, completes the rotation. It starts its movement, and then from there, it'll reach its point. And then once its point's reached, it'll wait for a certain amount of time, and then it'll move again to the next distance. And it'll keep doing that over and over and over. And then once I get in the distance of the monster, it'll turn towards me and stop what it's doing. And now it's in the stalking mode. And if I get closer, that's the stalk range. As you see it spamming the stalk range. This would be the chase range. And if the monster gets too close to me, that's when it jumps into a jump scare range. And right now the monster is kind of small. It'll be a little bit bigger than this. I just have it scaled down. It's breathing. You can see it's breathing. And it's following me. It's rotating with me as I move. It's not snapping. It's going to start walking once I'm out of its area. Once it gets, I'm going to just run over here and get close to it. It rotates to me. Before, it was just snapping to me, so its body wouldn't rotate smoothly. It would just all of a sudden lock on to me. That's the point of the smooth rotation code. But that's pretty much how this system for the patrolling works so far. So now that we have a basic patrol system set up, now we need to make more idle animations for after he's done walking and he reaches his point and he's just waiting. He needs to be moving freaky, moving weird. Because right now all he's doing is standing there breathing, which is fine. It's just, it could use more. Now, this is too close to the monster for it to start chasing me. It should have been started chasing me when I was like back over here. So I do have to tweak all that stuff like that, but this is just a basic, okay?
After that, I took a break from working on the monster and went back to doing my favorite thing, which is level design. Because like I said in the last video, I needed to add that underground tunnel to the map. So, the silo needs to connect to the underground tunnel opening that I made. So I added graded floors and a staircase inside that silo. I needed round walls for the silo to extend it to the underground. So I hopped in Blender and modeled those and put them in my game as well. I finished making the tunnel and now they connect. I fixed the collision so that the player is now able to walk down into the tunnel. Then I added conveyor belts in the tunnel as well as lights, pillars, and handrails. Now it's looking like the real thing at my job, which if you don't know, that's what this game is based off of, the cement plant that I work at. I posted this finished outcome to Shorts and TikTok and Instagram Reels. All my social medias are in the description, so please drop a follow. Anyways, on Instagram Reels in my comment section, someone reached out to me named Hypagon, and he offered to make my game's music. So I added him on Discord and we chatted it up. Around this time is when I had disappeared into the world of RLCraft. We had chatted and then we kind of didn't speak for like a good month. During that month, all I was doing was no-lifing RLCraft and eating 4,000 to 5,000 calories, 200 protein a day, and hitting the gym 6 days out of the week. I had lost all motivation to do the game dev stuff. I also re-sprained my sprained thumb that never healed the right way back when I sprained it in December. So I re-sprained it. So then there was a moment where I couldn't even go to the gym to do upper body. So all I was doing was legs in the gym. And I just felt burnt out. It was just all bad. And RLCraft was supposed to be taking the pain away. But if you ever played RLCraft, but then after not talking for so long, the new friend that I had made, Hypagon, reached out to me. And we hopped in a Discord call and he showed me the music that he was working on for my game. And I ended up showing him the little bit of progress that I had made since we had last spoke. And I'd just like to take a moment to thank Hypagon for reaching out. Him reaching out really held me accountable because I didn't want to waste his time with the music that he made for my game. Like once I heard the music, I wanted to immediately put it in my game. So shout out to you, Hypagon, because ever since that day, I have been on a roll. I I went back into my game and I remodeled the underground section and made it look 10 times better. But unfortunately, I will not be sharing that with you guys. I have to have something that's a surprise in the game. I can't show every single little detail of the game because there has to be something in the game that's mysterious to you. So I'm gonna leave that underground area a mystery to you guys. But what I can show you is the music that this man Hypergon cooked up. So I'm gonna show you the music and I'm gonna show you how it works.
So first I'm gonna show you each track, and then I'll show you how it works. So as you saw, when I walked into different areas, the music changed. So when I started the game, it started the first music. Then when I walked into the office, which was this green box, the office music played. Then when I walked over here, same concept. When I walked into the tunnel music played. And then when we walk underground, there's a green box over here too. That music will play as well. We added our music inside and we went to our music. And we make sure that we had a loopable checked. That's very important, so the music plays over and over and over again. We could make these into sound cues, like so, where we add the looping node into the output. So we have a total of 4 music areas. Trigger ER, trigger office, trigger outside, trigger tunnel. Oh yeah, the tunnel! I always forget about this. So we actually have 5 sounds. All this is managed by a music player. The music player is managed in the blueprint. So if we go open level blueprint, so boom, we have our level blueprint with a bunch of blueprints of how this music works. So pretty much at begin play, music starts and it sets the music on the music player and it sets the sound to the cement plant sound. And we have that fade in at 0.3 volume. Then, if you go over to the ER room and you trigger that box by overlapping it, pretty much walking inside of it, and it would have to be your character that walked inside of it, then that music will fade out the music that began at begin play, which was the cement plant music. So it fades that music out as you see the music player gets faded out. Then we have a delay to allow the time for the fade out before this one fades in. And then over here, we have our set sound, ERQ, boom, right there. And that delay is very important. Otherwise, the fade in, fade out would all happen at once. And then once you leave that trigger, once you end that overlap and your character is no longer in that box, then the music fades out, delay of course, and then fades in back to the cement plant music. And this whole system is pretty much for every different area. Now, let me show you the problems that I've had with this. Just go ahead and grab a piece of trash. Boom, we picked up a box. Now, the music goes back to playing the first music you heard, which is just the outside music. Once I drop it, the office music comes to play. And so the problem is that when I pick this up, I'm triggering the box. Because as you can see, there's a green box around my office structure. And so to stop that trash object from doing what it's doing, I have to add this cast to horror character so that only my character can trigger the box. So right here, this is the box. and this is when we enter it. And then I just got to make multiple of these for this, and then down here for all these other ones. This is why I don't like Blueprint, by the way, because it looks like a fucking mess. But anyways, so I just connect this pin to that pin to that, and connect this pin to that. And this is Blueprint. So another issue that I ran into with the music audio is walking into this box and walking out of it quickly will sometimes play both musics. Play both musics? Both of the songs will play. So as you know, this box is the trigger box, and when the player walks into it, it changes the music. So let's walk in this and walk out of it very quickly. So in, out. Electrical music is playing, but I'm not in there. And you can hear the piano playing. Both of the musics are playing. So there's a bug right there. If a player walks on the border of this and in and out by accident, or if they walk through this corner to that side like this, it'll trigger the shit, and then it'll play both songs. So the fix for this, pretty simple actually. So pretty much you just right click and go to audio, and you add a sound concurrency, which is what's right here. And we named it music concurrency. We go ahead and enter this. Default settings are different. It's like start from the furthest or something, and it's 16. So we change this to 1. That's the max count. And our resolution rule, we put stop oldest. So we go ahead and exit that. Those settings are set. Now we have to go into each one of our music files, and we have to go down to we could just type in concurrency. And so we have our concurrency right here, and we're not overriding the concurrency. Instead, we're setting it. So we're going to add an element, and in the drop down, we're going to add our music concurrency. So now, boom, that's that. That setting's set up. And then we do that for every single one so that no music plays twice. And now it should work. And if it doesn't, I'm about to go off on this AI. Boom, boom. Yes, sir. I said boom, boom. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, one more time. Just fuck it all up. Boom, boom, bam, beam, boom, boom. I'm a player, and I'm doing things. All right, let's see. I broke it. I broke it. Just know that's okay, because only one music is playing, so I don't even care. So please, when you play my game, don't be doing those zigzags.
The next thing that I worked on was creating my first task for the player, which was simply picking up trash objects and putting them in a trash bin that I modeled in Blender. As you can see, when you put the trash in the bin, on the top left of the screen, it counts the trash, and you could also see that the trash disappears when I put it in. But I wanted it to be a bit more realistic, so instead of the trash being destroyed, I changed it to allowing the trash to just stay inside.
When I pick up the trash, drops in there. Trash stays in there. I could also take it out, drop it on the floor, and put it back in and try to duplicate it so I don't have to find all the trash. But no, in the code I made sure that you cannot do that. So it's gonna check if this is 1. If I take it out, I put it back in, it's checking if that's the same trash, and since it is the same trash, it's not gonna count it. And once we get to the designated amount of trash that we have to throw away, it says task complete, all trash collected. And so now we have trash inside the trash can, and you can do whatever you want. The other thing that I wanted to showcase, when you walk up to these, turn off the flashlight, it has a glow over it so that you know which item you can pick up and which item you can't. Like, for example, I can't pick this up, but I can't pick this up. And so the way that all of this works is, the way that the trash can is able to read anything is, let me show you. You go BP trash bin, open the full blueprint editor, and check out our viewport. Inside this trash mesh that I modeled, there's a red box. This red box is the trigger volume. And so this trigger looks for a tag, and that tag that it looks for is titled trash. Now, what is a tag? So tag is just a name that you could put on an item. So if I click this trash item right here, and I go in this search bar in the details, I type in tags, you see actor, tags, and you see there's a trash tag. So any items that have the trash tag, you could pick it up, and any items that have the trash tag will register in this trash can, the red box that's in this trash can. It'll register that, oh, okay, this is trash, let me count it. As you guys know, if you remember, the doors were also able to be highlighted. So I ran into another problem, and that problem was I tried adding my interaction detection logic that I made onto this. So basically, in a nutshell, I made this interactable interface that I talked about in the previous devlogs. And this interactable interface uses interact, on begin focused, and all that stuff. And so if you go to the office door, you will see that on begin focus, it'll set the render custom depth to true, and on end focus, it'll set the render custom depth to false. The render custom depth is just that highlight glow that you see. So with that being said, just like Office Door has its own class to where it could be its own blueprint, as you see Office Door right there, it's a blueprint. I did the same exact thing, but it was for a trash item, and it would not let me pick up the trash item because in the code for the horror character, I didn't have this whole system added to it. All I had was the interactable. So all it was doing was checking if the trash was interactable. And since the trash was interactable, then it said, okay, now let's try to open it, because the interactable logic is specifically for the doors. So I had to add an OR right here to check if it's interactable or is it trash. So if it's interactable, that means it's a door and you can open it. If it's trash, that means you could pick it up and throw it away. So two different systems on the same plane, but two different things. And yes, I know, it's a little bit confusing because when you pick up the trash, you're technically interacting with it, but that's just not how it works. So shout out AI, because I barely get it, bro. But I get it, but I barely get it. I'm just winging this shit, bro.
So that was just the first stage of our tasks. Now we needed to implement a system where the player can track what tasks to do. So I modeled a whiteboard in Blender, and I painted the tasks that the player needs to complete, along with some other information on the whiteboard. That whiteboard will be on the wall inside the office so the player knows what to do. And now I will show you how that works.
So here's a to-do list. Pickup trash has not been done yet, but when I do finish it, there will be an X on it, like so. So let me show you how I set this up. So first, I made a new C++ class, and then I created a blueprint based off this C++ class for the whiteboard. And in the code for the whiteboard, I added a static mesh component and a widget component, and then I brought those to life by creating a default sub-object and connecting the root component to that whiteboard mesh so that we could select the mesh in the viewport. And then I added the task widget and just some sizes of where you'll be able to put the widget. So now when we go back into Unreal Engine, we could see that we have the BP whiteboard, we have the whiteboard mesh, static mesh, and then we have our task widget. And that draw size, I had to change it to 500 to 500 because if it was any lower, this would get cut off. That's why I changed it to 500 so that there's more room for me to place my widget. But how did I get this widget here? Well, I had to create a widget. So I created a widget, and here's the widget. Open this up, and as you can see right here, if I zoom in, there's a tiny little X. It was empty. I added a canvas panel, then I added a checkmark 1, and I made sure that that is a variable at the top right here. Very important. In the graph, we did some stuff. We also did some stuff in the graph of the whiteboard, and I'll get into that in a moment. So now that we have our widget, we needed to transfer our widget into our whiteboard to be able to see it. So that's where we go to the task widget and component class widget, and we can just go ahead and search up class, and you'd see the user interface widget class. This would be set to none. And so we selected our widget class. And now our widget is available in the viewport because we selected it. Then from there, I had to make a new C++ class, and that C++ class was the task manager. We have our whiteboard, we have our task manager, and then we have our character and our trash. So now all of these classes have to link. The trash bin needs to communicate to the task manager, hey, I've done this trash, blah, 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 blah. Just like the horror character needs to communicate to the trash bin, hey, I just picked up a trash to put it in the trash bin. You understand what I'm saying? So those are linked. And then we also have to connect the task manager to our horror character so that the horror character can do the task. And once the task completed, the horror character can tell the task manager, hey, I'm done over here. And then another important thing is a task ID. This task ID is defined right here as task trash, and this is important. this task ID is going to be needed for blueprint so that the game knows which task has been completed. And this will just be the ID for the trash. And we'll do the same concept with tool ID or sweeping ID or whatever the case may be. You have to have different IDs for different tasks. So now that's all done, let's go ahead and go over to our graph in our task list and let's check out what's going on here. So we have it running on event tick for right now, but we don't want it to be on tick because it'll be running forever. Constantly checking it, not good for, you know, performance. So this will be changed, just letting you guys know that right now. So event tick is connected to cast a horror character to make sure, you know, we have our horror character and whatnot. Okay, we connect our horror character to the task because our horror character is the one that'll be completing the task. So this event tick is constantly checking, is this task completed? And we have a branch node, and if it is completed and that's true, then in the designer, this little X, it'll be visible. But if the task is not completed, then it'll be false, and that little X in the designer will be hidden. Remember when I said that this check mark is variable? That's important because we had to bring that variable from right here, drag that in, get variable. Now we got the variable for that check mark, and we had to connect it into these targets so that we know, is this check mark visible or not visible? And then back to the task ID, the trash task, which I had shown you earlier right here. Boom, now that knows which task has been completed or not. And that's the basic setup for this, and I do the same thing over and over and over again with the next task. So it'll be the same, check the horror character completed that task, yes or no, blah 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 blah. Now over here in BP whiteboard, there was some stuff going on in here. Nothing's connected to anything, so we're not using anything. This was just testing. So this was just to get the widget and see if it was there, see if it was running false or true, and then letting me know if the widget exists, because I did have some trouble trying to get the widget to exist because my dumb ass, I made the whiteboard, I put it in my world as a mesh. I dragged this in and then I was trying to do everything that I was doing. But no, that's wrong. I'm not supposed to just drag this mesh in like that. What I was supposed to do was drag in the blueprint version of this mesh. So as you can see, I finally did that. The widget wasn't popping up because I'd never put the blueprint that I coded into the world space. Another thing I should mention, because it baffled me a little bit, was how exactly do I get this X to be perfectly where I need it? I mean, sure, I could go in here and move it around and whatnot, but I don't think that would be a good idea, considering what if there's another X on this task and I have to move that right here and it just doesn't align, and it would just be me moving multiple X's. So it just wasn't smart. So literally all I did was go in here and I just move this. So if I grab this right here, move that, compile that, and then go to my whiteboard, it's going to be moved, right? I don't know where anything's at because there's no background. I just move it accordingly, and I just kept moving it and then checking, and then moving it and then checking. And then to get these other check marks checked, all I have to do is the same thing. Go over here, create a new checkmark image, put my image checkmark, and then this, I would just pretty much move this to be right here, and there would be another one. Go ahead and compile that and see, oh boom, we got another X right there. It's not in the right place, so let me just move it up a little bit. Probably be somewhere over there. Compile, and you kind of get the picture. So now that you kind of understand with that brief explanation of how this was created, now let's go ahead and put it to the test. So we go ahead and start our game, and we're going to go ahead and get our 12 pieces of trash, and you can see it's counting it. All right, we have 11 out of 12, and just to show you guys, I'm going to run up here. Boom. No X on our whiteboard. Perfect. Boom. Yeah, let's go ahead and put our last trash in. Task completed, all trash collected, 12 out of 12. Boom. Now that task is completed. Now that X looks ugly, so I am probably going to change it to what's it called? Or I might keep it. Honestly, who cares?
And finally, the last thing was updating the walking animation that you guys cooked me for. And let me just remind you of something very important. The rigging on this monster sucks. So getting this monster to move how I want it to move and how you guys were saying is a bit difficult because, one, if I move the mesh a certain way, it folds and deforms, and that's due to my wonky retopology that I did. But despite seeing my beginner mistakes in full effect, I still made do, and this is the new updated walking animation.
I took your comments into consideration, and this is what I ended up coming up with. So the most important thing was making this 4-animaled creature walk like a 4-animaled creature. A quadruped or predator versus aliens. We're gonna go frame by frame. Boom. Start with a position like this. He takes his left arm and then he touches the ground. Then the right hind leg goes up. That touches the ground. Now the right front leg's gonna go up. Boom. That touches the ground. Now the left hind leg's gonna go up. Boom. Now that touches the ground. And it just repeats. So the walking is done right. 3 feet on the ground, like the comment said, 1 foot up, and we have the weight shifting. If we go ahead and look at the other, you can see that I added a little wobble, like some of you guys said, to add. The weight of the body is shifting. You guys also mentioned to add twitches, so I added some weird twitches. I'm not sure if I like it or not. And there's going to be multiple animations. Like this animation will be walking, and then it will go to an idle animation, one of many idle animations, because there's going to be multiple idle animations of him just looking around, stalking, doing weird things, blah blah blah. There's going to be the stalking animation, then there's going to be the running animation, and so all the different animations will form together. So I think this will do. When you see him walking around, he'll just be twitching like this, and then once he stops, he'll stop his whole twitch shit, and then he goes back walking, and he starts twitching. I don't know. I'm gonna need you guys' feedback on this, honestly, because I'm not sure. That's a crazy pose. Damn. I kind of just want to stick my meat in him. What? Does that make me into bestiality?
As I progress in game dev and create more characters and animate more, I'll be able to learn from the retopology and animation mistakes I made and do better on my next projects. But this is my first project after all, so no need to be a perfectionist. This game is supposed to come out at the end of October. It's September 16th right now. So that's like a month and a half of time that I have. So I need to finish my monster's brain. I need to finish the tasks. I need to make the start menu, pause menu, and all that stuff like that. Make sure the performance is good and have people test it. Can I do all that in a month and a half? I hope so. I'm on a roll right now, so I'm really gonna give this my all. But overall, everybody that tuned into this video and everybody that watched it through and made it to the end, thank you. Everybody that left feedback on my walking animation for me to update it, thank you. I want to be a great game developer that listens to the people majority of the time. I know there's going to be some times where I disagree with you guys, and that's okay. But I want to take you guys' feedback as something serious, because there's some games where they could have been better and the devs just don't listen. You know how that goes. So I want to be a great game dev for you guys, and I want to make great games. And I know that, yeah, I'm not no programmer. I have no degree. And if you don't like me for that, that's cool. I still like you, and we should make out. Let me know if you guys like the more professional style videos like this one, or if y'all want me to do some more unhinged crazy stuff. Also, subscribe to my OnlyFans.